Hello everyone, we are back with the second episode of how to make a Pokemon fan game in Unreal Engine. In the last episode, we covered the very basics of transport or locomotion, such as jumping and running around. We also covered the introductory steps of creating the character. I've done just a little bit off camera, just making a little scene. And so you don't need all this and get, you know what, yeah, to demonstrate that, let's just go in here, new level, and let's create a basic. And I'll delete the floor and save this as game map development. And I'll do m_development tutorial video. Going forward, I'll be using the other scene, but for right now, this is what we're going to be working with. And I will just show you my very basic landscape material. Game, materials, landscape. Oh, that's not it. Here we go. So it's basically, we take the slope, which sharpness is at -6 or 36, bias is at 17, and I'm taking two named reroutes for both the slope alpha and slope normal. I'm then taking the grass and cliff color, putting it into a lerp, and putting it into a landscape layer blend. And then do that for as many materials as you want. It's very simple, very quick and easy. So just quick observing how I made it. It's not optimal, but it works. And then 0 and 1 in metallic and specular, and 1 in roughness. And then I did a very simple grass using the Dreamscape grass. You can do any material or any 3D grass that you want. That's just what I'm doing. But basically, that is it. Oh, and I made one slight change in here. You go down here into the movement input and set that Y, or plug in all these variables. Make sure that's set like that. After you do that, you're good. Okay. Sorry for the long-winded intro. Let's create a very simple landscape. For this, I will be using a texture, which I will link down in the description below. Where are you? Where are you at? Here we go. There's this one. And I will do 40. Yeah, there we go. 40 will work. And import it. Then in here, I will just basically set this for both of these, or for all these. And I think it's this one. Okay. There we go. And basically, that's all you're going to be doing in there. Like so. So just save it. So now what we're going to do is go in here to game, blueprints. And what I like to do is create a child, or create a folder and name this Pokemon, or actually, children Pokemon. There we go. That's what I'll just do for now. Then go in here, blueprint class, and then type in BP master Pokemon. And then I'll do BP_pop Leo. What this does is basically allow me to create a child actor so I can have specific functions just for this Pokemon. So that's why I'm doing that. You don't have to do what I'm doing, but go in here and set this to all the variables went. For this tutorial, I'm using ABP2 for Poplio. And if I remember right, this is what your in a blueprint should look like. What we're going to do now is move on to the more coding side of it, the more, in my opinion, boring side, but hey, each person finds their own thing entertaining. So in here last time, I talked about direction. Here is like where you add like your turning animation. So if you're taking, say, where is it? Sure, this one. What some people would do is pause it, grab the, let's say the waist. Yeah, there we go. And then rotate it in certain directions. I'm not going to do it like that for the swimming, flying, all those. I'm going to do that all in code because that just leverages more opportunities. And I just closed out of my in a blueprint. So here's how you're going to code the direction. So you're first going to grab a calculate direction node. And if you followed the previous one, you would already have the velocity. So just grab velocity. And then after that, you're going to want to grab the character from down here, which, as if you already followed this part, you should have. Then do get actor rotation. And then simply drag it in there. And then if it's all working, just right click and do promote variable and set it as direction. It does not work because that's what it's already. Apparently it's already in use. I guess I have to probably close out the thing. But what you're going to want to do is organize it in the way that you like. That'll require a lot more organizing. So we're going to go back to the root of this. We're going to grab it. We're going to want to be able to rotate the actor depending on the velocity and direction. So this is for swimming. We're first going to disconnect that and create a cache. And then name this, let's say, locomotion cache. This will allow you to create multiple references to this state machine. Because if you can't, then you'd have to like replicate the entire thing. And that's just a lot of work for no reason. So what you're going to do is grab that cache. And then take a transform bone. And that's going to give you a lot of options. But we're only going to be using the rotation. So if we, let's first select a bone. I'm going to do waist. Because that's the one that pretty much rotates everything. It's going to give you a bunch of errors. Here's how you fix it. Go in here and click on expose as pin. It will remove the option. So you want to do that for both translation and scale. Doing so, get rid of those options. And then you're going to go in here to rotation mode and do add to existing. So if you do that, it will no longer give you any errors. So how exactly does this work? So the rotation is based on these axes right here. So if I rotate Poplio 90 degrees in here, like so, it will rotate it 90 degrees. And it also applies to the other direction as well. And then the X is up and down like this. So if I set that to 90, it will rotate down, negative 90, up. And then basically it's the other way around. 90 and negative 90 does that. How exactly is this going to work? What we're going to do is grab a make rotator and drag that in there. We're then going to take two important factors, and that is velocity. And the reason why we want to grab velocity is so then we can track the up and down. so we can change the roll, which, like I said, is the up and down variable of it. And I did the math on this. So, like I said, this is stuff you're going to have to edit on your own. But actually, for now, let's not do that. I'm not going to do the math. You're going to grab a clamp, float, and simply drag the velocity Z, which, unlike Unity, that is up and down. And I'm just going to do -60 and 60. And then put that into the roll. What we're going to simply want to do next is I'm going to go in here to the world setting and select my pawn as my Poplio. So here is what is important about setting the velocity is it will rotate depending on the direction that you're moving. So, and here's why we set the clamp. First of all, is if I get rid of the clamp and put it in there, it will bring a whole lot of chaos to your Poplio character. So that is why we do that. So dragging the pit or grabbing the clamp. And what we're first going to do is, you saw how it was facing upwards when we were falling. What you're going to want to do is a times node, or a multiply, sorry, and set that to -1. What that basically does is invert the falling. So it's rotating downwards. Why didn't that work? Or why didn't that... Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I see. Never mind. Then what we're going to do is grab a divide node. So I did the math for this, and the best result that I got was dividing it by 8. So let me just quickly show you the reasoning behind that. I grab a print string, and I just grab the velocity, split, and put it in there. It's going to return a very high value, but it's taking that, it senses that you're going down, which is what you want. But what I did is take the divide node and then do 8. Go back into play mode. It sets it to a far more manageable number. It's easier to use when you're not moving too fast, which most of the time you won't be. So that's basically why. So I'm going to delete those and go back in here. And that's basically it for that part. And we're going to basically do now is copy this and put that into the pitch. So it's going to be rotating, rotates this side. And then drag that in there. So I set this to 2 because, oh, and get rid of that and put in the direction. So divide that by 2 and set the direction. And that's basically it for that part. But the same issue applies there. The variables are simply just too big and make things harder to use. Let's just paint the train right there for a moment. You're going to see the change almost instantly. If you look, you can see that's rotating, which is what you want. So why is this at all important? Why exactly would I want to follow those steps? So if I go in here and set my Poplio to the flying class. You're going to see that when you turn, it's going to rotate in that direction, which also applies to the falling. This applies to both flying and swimming animations, and also any other kind of animations that you want to be using have special turning animations. Alright, so next, we're going to go and start working on programming swimming into the project so we can make Poplio useful. So what we're going to do is go in here to plugins and type in landmass. Actually, type in landmass, and you're going to want to enable the landmass plugin and the water plugin. Or if you have your own system already implemented for swim or for water, use that. But that's just what I'm going to use for this video. So after you have that enabled, you're going to have to restart the engine. But when you do, you're going to be given a bunch of water tools. For right now, what we're going to use is the water body river. Drag that in there. If you use the default settings for the landscape, it should work just fine, with no issues. So what we're going to do is simply set the the river depth to 300, because that's just what I did and works well for the video or for the current project. So the landscape was made using World Creator. So if you have access to that plugin, then you can create a landscape similar to this, if not better. I'm not the best at the tools, so. And simply start dragging things down. So really the only rule that you have for water is make sure that it's never going up, but it's always going down. So just make sure it's following the slope. That is literally the only rule to water to make it look nice. Well, the only big essential rule that can pretty much make or break your thing for right now. But since I don't care that much, it's good enough as is. So now, I'm going to go in here and make sure that Poplio is set to walking. Here we go, set that to default. There we go. Everything should be set up correctly. Yep, okay. If it's not working for you, you're probably going to have to edit some of the settings down here to do query only, no physics collisions. But if you set the right settings, it should work. So what we're going to do next is we're going to implement the swimming functionality. So go in here to click the water body that you're using, and right by this add, you're going to want to click this little tree icon. That will convert it to a blueprint. You're going to want to do a subclass. And I'm just going to go in here, practicing the game water system development scenes. And we're going to do tutorial world. You don't need to follow this exact way, but that's just where I'm going to put it. Then what we're going to do is actor begin overlap. And it has to be that one. And then you're going to want to cast to character. So it has access to the character movement. After you do that, you're going to want to grab the get physics volume from the movement, and you're going to want to type in water volume. Simply set it in there so it thinks that you're in a swimmable object. Set movement mode. There we go. and set that to swimming. So if you enable that and then compile, save, it's going to show up with this error most likely for you. If it does, just grab the blueprint and move it down just slightly, and then go in here to play mode, and it'll think you're swimming. There we go. But now you have a flying Poplio. So how do you fix this? Simply go back in here, copy that, and then do end overlap. Cast the character and set that as false and walking. Then you're going to have to do that whole water thing again. But leave the water and it fixes the issue. So now, that brings us to the next part. Finishing the animation blueprint. As you noticed when you got out of the water, you still have those weird turning animations. What we're going to do to fix that, going in here to the animation blueprint and going to the event graph. Then get character, get the character, and do get is swimming. Is swimming. Then set that as a Boolean and do is swimming. Oh, that's why it wasn't working. It's already on here. But yeah, after you do that, you're going to go back in here to the anim graph, and here is why you had to cache this. Simply copy that, grab the transform node again, and put in there. Before you add anything else, don't put anything in there. You're going to want to grab another, or what you're going to do is grab a blend pose by Boolean, and is true, drag in the top one, then if false, grab the bottom one. And then in here, select is swimming, and then you're basically done. Okay, yeah, it's working. Then you go in here to the water, and you can see that it works. Then when you leave the water, it fixes it. And that's basically it for the Poplio. And when you're working with Swablu or when you're working with your flying characters, it's basically the exact same process. Go in here, do a quick copy of this, but this time we're not going to grab the cache. And I'm doing just an idle animation. Go in here, and since I don't have, actually I will anyways. Let's put it in there. Drag that in there. And do that. The only major difference is do that and just grab that, put it in there for now. Go in here. There we go. So yeah, just put that in there, take direction. And the only thing you're really going to change is take this and do is flying. Set that promote variable is flying. And even then, I prefer just keeping it as is. Go in here. Set is flying. I'm still getting errors. Come on. Oh, because I'm taking the direction. Oops. Or taking that part. There we go. So now it's working. Then go in here. Blueprints, Pokemon, Children Pokemon, Blueprint class, and do BP underscore master Pokemon pp underscore swablu. All right, then go in here into the swablu actor and set that to swablu or whatever flying Pokemon you're using, and grab your in a blueprint. Then I'm just going to make this easier for me and do default land and do flying. Then if it's all set up correctly, oh, it's not set up correctly in here, grab swablu, and then it works just fine. And that's basically it. What you can also do is go in here and do fly speed and set that to, let's say, 12,000 or 1,200. If you want Swablu to fly faster. But then that's going to lead to some issues that you need to fix. But you can see it rotating and all that. And what I'm going to quickly do is go in here to Swablu, because this is a special Pokemon. What you can do is go in here and grab, say, space key. Nope, I want space key. Space bar. And then do a is flying node. And then is true, or do a boolean if it is set movement mode to walking, and then if not, then set to flying. But I'm going to also add a quick jump. Oh, that's on flying. It's supposed to be on flying. Should be walking. Delay on to here, so I can go up into the air really quickly. And yeah, that's basically it. And that's just quickly how you set up some flying and swimming Pokemon, and how to easily change back and forth from walking and flying. In the next video, I think we're going to be covering the introduction to stats and making them, the Pokemon, like actually have their own specific properties. So then when we finally start working on combat in the next couple episodes, we don't have to worry about that. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. I know I kind of just rushed through a lot of this, but when you learn how to when you understand it, it's really easy to replicate. And by next video, I'm probably going to have a full landscape ready. So on your own time, you'll probably have to do that as well. So when we get to all these large world stuff, then you're ready for it. But that's basically it for now. I'll see you guys in the next video, and see you guys next time. Bye-bye.